Hi everyone. Let's start our session with the Unit 5 in Digital Signal Processing. The topic is the General Purpose Signal Processor. In this unit, we are going to study about the architecture of uh, computer-based systems. Okay, so in this will be studying the basic main architecture of TMS 320 C5X and TMS 320 C54X. Both are having the same functional and and diagrams, but there will be some slight variations in that. That's all. But remaining and all as usual same CPU, ALU, remaining and all same as it is. So first we will see the basic features of digital signal processor. Okay, so first we are going to study about selecting a digital signal processing. It has four factors. The first one is architectural features. Then a second factor is execution speed. Then a third one is a type of arithmetic. Then a fourth one is word length. If we see the architectural features, it includes the size of a chip memory and also a special instructions and input output capability. Architectural features, we have to note the size of a memory and then input output capability, and then a third one is special instructions what we are going to feed in the computer. And again, in this features we need a large memory. We need a large memory. Okay, and then it will accessing the data at high speed. Okay, it will be accessing the data at high speed and executing the program very rapidly. And it is used to access the data at high speed and also execute the program rapidly. And also the size of the RAM is also be very high. And then the second one is execution speed. In execution speed, the speed will be measured in a clock speed. We know that the clock speed will be measured in megahertz. So in system also, in computer also, we will be measuring the speed in megahertz. And the number of operations can be performed in each cycle and it will be differing from processor to processor. Okay, in execution speed we will be measuring the speed based on clock speed measurement, which is megahertz, and the number of operations will be performed in each cycle, and the operations will be differs from processor to a processor. Then a third one is type of arithmetic. There are two types of arithmetic. The first one is fixed point arithmetic, and the second one is floating point arithmetic. Mainly, we will be using the floating point arithmetic because they are very wide and variable dynamic range of requirements. With when we compare the cost, the fixed point will be having a very low amount when compared to floating point. But we will be using the floating point arithmetic in all the architectures. The main advantage is nothing but it will be very wide and dynamic range of requirements. And the fourth one is word length. If we increase the data word, the error will be low. Okay, which means the if the word length data length is more, we can lower the errors of the processor. And then next we will see the first architecture, Van Neumann architecture. Okay, Van Neumann architecture. I will draw the basic block diagram of Van Neumann architecture. Okay, this is a basic block diagram of Van Neumann architecture. This is the first computer architecture in which the computer is programmed by using the coding. Okay, this is the first computer architecture in which the computer is programmed and executed using coding words. Okay, then it has the where the instruction will be stored in a ROM. ROM means a read only memory. Okay, the instructions of uh, the computer or program which we are going to code will be stored in the ROM, and the CPU is mainly used for reading or writing the data from or to the memory. The main point is the first computer architecture that is programmed by the computer using a coding, and the second one is the coding instructions will be stored in a ROM, and the third one is the CPU can either be read or write from or to the memory. It consists of mainly three buses. First one is data bus, then second one is address bus, and then third one is control bus. The data bus is it will is used to transport the data between CPU and peripherals. The peripherals mean nothing but the external device. For example, printer. Like this, we will be saying as peripherals. Okay. So the database is mainly used to transfer the data from CPU to peripherals and vice versa. So it is also acting as a unidirectional. And then a second one is, and then the second one is address bus. The address bus is used to indicate in which peripherals it want to access. Okay, the address bus is mainly used to indicate the CPU to which peripherals it wants to access. And then third one is a control bus. The control bus is used to manage and synchronize the data transferring from CPU to peripherals or from peripheral to CPU. Okay, so mainly we are having three buses. The first one is data bus, the second one is address bus, and then third one is control bus. The data bus is used to transfer the data from CPU to peripherals and vice versa. And then second one is address bus. The address bus is used to indicate the CPU in which peripherals it wants to access. And then third one is a control bus. The control bus is used to manage and synchronize the data which is transferring from CPU to peripherals or from peripherals to CPU. This is the first architecture used by using the coding words. And then second, we are going to see about the Harvard architecture. The Harvard architecture, we will see the block diagram first, and then I will explain the Harvard architecture block diagram. Okay. So this is the basic block diagram for Harvard architecture, and this architecture is a relay-based computer. The difference between the normal computer and relay-based computer is that in relay-based computer there will be inbuilt electromagnetic switches. Okay, and so they will also having the filter coefficient so that we can filter out the whatever coding we need, we can filter out and send to the CPU. Okay, so uh, but in normal computer means they will be having there are relay switches uh, outside which externally connected to the CPU. It will not be inbuilt with the CPU. Okay, so it is the first relay based computer, and it stores the instructions on punched tape and data in relay latches. Okay, the difference between the hardware and modified hardware architecture is that in modified hardware architecture, it contains two or three memory buses and having filter coefficients and input signals in the same cycle. In single cycle, they will be having two or three memory buses, filtering coefficients and input signals. And with that, they will also be having two independent bus systems. The these two bus systems will not be interchangeable. So So in modified hardware architecture, we will be having in a single cycle of two or three memory bus with filter coefficients and input cycles, and along with that we will be having two independent bus systems, and these bus systems will not be interchangeable. Okay, and then it has and that the two memory bus is based on program memory, data memory, and input and output peripherals. Once again, I'm telling the the hardware architecture is the relay based computer, and it will store the information on punched tape, and data will be in relay latches. In modified hardware architecture, it contains two or three memory buses with filter coefficients and input signals in same cycle, and also it will be having a two independent bus system, and this bus system will not be interchangeable, and this depends on a program memory, data memory, and input signals and output peripherals what we are going to connect. Okay, and then third we will see about the VLIW architecture. VLIW means a very long instruction word architecture. First I will draw the block diagram and then I will explain it. Okay. This is the basic block diagram for VLIW architecture. In this, the main advantage of this VLIW architecture is nothing but it can increase the number of instructions, and we can perform it in a single cycle itself. The main advantage is nothing but the number of instructions can be processed in a single cycle. Okay, it has a concatenation of several short instructions. A concatenation is nothing but a series. It will be having a series of short instructions and requires multiple execution units. Okay, the main point is it will be having a number of instructions in a single cycle and requires a multiple execution units, and all instructions will be running in a parallel in a single cycle. Okay, that's all the main explanation for this VLIW architecture. The first point is it can use a number of instructions in the same cycle and can be running in parallel of all the instructions and require multiple execution units for each instructions to be executed out. Okay, and then we will see the pipelining of a microprocessor and advanced microprocessor and also in computers. Okay, the pipelining is nothing but it is used to improve the efficiency of microprocessor or digital signal processing. Okay, it is used, what's the use of pipelining is that it is used to improve the efficiency and used to improve the efficiency of a microprocessor, advanced microprocessor, and also in a DP. Okay, usually in normal microprocessor, the instructions will be executed sequentially, which means one from two, two to three, then three to four, like this we have to execute it in sequence only. But in pipelining method or else in advanced microprocessor or DSP method, we can shift the instructions in whichever we want. Okay, for example, if you are now we are executing in the instructions in first one, and then we have to execute in fifth part, we can easily execute the fifth one by using the pipelining method. In normal microprocessor we can't use this, we can't shift from 1 to 5 or 5 to 10. We have to sequentially only we have to increase in normal microprocessor method. In using a pipelining method, we can shift directly from 1 to 5 or 5 to 15 or 15 to 25, like that. This is the main advantage in when compared to microprocessor and DSP. Okay, and the pipelining will be having four major stages. The first, pipeline. Okay, a pipeline. The basic four stages of pipelining are: the first one is fetch, then second one is decode, then third one is memory read, then fourth one is execute phase. In first one, fetch, the next instruction will be fetched from address stored in the program counter. So, okay, the fetch is used to store the next instruction from address. And then the second one, a decode. The decode is used to decode the address in the program counter for using the instruction register. So what's the use of fetch? Nothing but it is used to store the next instruction in the program counter, and then for decode it is used to decode the address in the program counter using instruction register. And then third one, memory read, it is used to read the data from data bus and also used to write the data to the data bus. Okay, for memory read it is used to read the data from the data bus, and also it is used to write the data also. And then fourth one, execute phase. In execute phase, it executes the instruction currently uh, in the instruction register and completes the writing process. Okay, it will be executing the instruction in the instruction register and completes the writing processor. Okay, and this is the main stages of four stages of pipelining. Once again I'm telling, The pipelining is mainly used to improve the efficiency, and this is mainly used in advanced microprocessor and DSP controller. Okay, there are four stages of pipelining. The first one is a fetch. The fetch is used to store the next instruction in the programming counter, and then second one is a decode. It is used to decode the address in the program counter using instruction register. And then third one is memory read. Memory read, it is used to read and write the data in the used to read and write the data from the or to the data buses. And fourth one is execution phase. It is used to execute the instruction in the instruction register and completes the writing process. And then and by definition, the pipeline is nothing but a processor which breaking down its instruction in a series of discrete pipeline stages. Okay, thank you.